Hi, welcome to this extremely basic Elite Dangerous introduction video. I'm going to be speaking in real time and explaining the bare minimum controls as a tutorial in this current video. We're not going to talk about space on a grand scale. I'm going to have to turn that down just a little bit. There we go. Maybe that's better. We just want a very minor introduction here. So, as I'm recording, I could explain in detail what Elite Dangerous is as far as your involvement as a player. I can go into lore and I can go into the different activities. But right now, what this video, this current recording is about is assuming that we are not accustomed to flight simulator games and do not have access to high-end joysticks or any other types of control schemes outside of a keyboard, mouse, and perhaps a gamepad. Gamepad, controller, PlayStation, Xbox, something to that capacity. So we will try to be using that today, and the keyboard. But for simplicity's sake, I will be using some of my joysticks to move around. So first, if we start up the game, if we are a fresh player, we're going to see something like this. I don't know if it can capture, no, it doesn't have a cursor right now, but I can use either the keypad, the keyboard, or a gamepad to control just about every function in the game. If I tab over, let's see. I don't have access, I don't have my control scheme on this account, but I can go into options. I can go to controls. And if I need to fine tune anything, I'm going to both check general controls for interface. And from here, you can see that panel up, panel down, left and right, and select are both available on my joysticks. And as a secondary control scheme, you can put another option right here. So if you want to hybridize your key bindings, you can select either from a preset and then edit them there. And I'll check the presets right here. So you just have generic joystick. You can do a keyboard and mouse. You can do control pad and keyboard and mouse. And anything else that you plug in and play. I dare say that you could probably get a Wii remote to work with this game if you tried hard enough. But just about everything that you plug in and let it register as a joystick or gamepad, you can use it to play Elite. It's very accommodating in that regard. And then you can also do I guess you could say a primary and secondary key binding. So if you want to do your little moon rover, your little SRV, we'll get to that later as far as its concept, but you do have on-foot controls as well. So if you want to fly spaceships with a keypad, or I'm sorry, a keyboard and mouse, but you want to do on-foot stuff with controller, you can change every category right here before you. You can change every one of these to your liking. So if any controls do not feel correct, you can go through and have primary and secondary controls, key bindings. And there's graphics and audio as well, but we're not too concerned about all of that. Right now, we're just going to learn how to enter this world and basically the core tenets of flying a spaceship. And I will start off by saying that as a character in the game, you are not particularly special. You're not important. You're not the hero. You're just another person flying a spaceship. There's just a slight lore reason why we are independent commanders as players, and we get some perks that other people don't. but overall, you're not. There's no story mode to this. You just do. You set out. You do what you want to, and there are no training wheels. So hopefully, this video series, if it becomes a series, because I wish to elaborate on different components of the game, like combat and exploration, and just navigating the stars. But for now, we're going to introduce ourselves to the spaceship, and I'm going to lower the sounds just a little bit further. I don't know if that's going to fully register. So there we go. I just maybe a little bit further. When you log into the game, maybe you're a fresh character, you will see this. And this is the stock Sidewinder. It's not going to have any crazy bells or whistles on it. Right now, I'm going to use a look feature. Let's see. Yep, there we go. So if we look at the center of the screen, we have a little hologram of our ship. And the blue rings indicate that we have shields. And currently the shields are at 100%. That's what it's showing right there. And then below that, we have 100% for the hull or the health. We can say the armor. The armor is a different factor right now, but your integrity, it's at 100%. And then from there, if we go a little bit further over, we'll see 3 lines, and they'll have dots right underneath them. And then if I do the directional pad, nope, oh, sorry, let's try again. If I do my directions, you'll have to check your key bindings for them. But we can adjust what they call pips, P-I-P. The pips are different energy sources or flow rates to each category. And every time I hit down, it just resets right there. But the category on the left is systems. The category up top is engine. And the category on the right is weapons. And they control your recharge rates or your capacity. The capacity is the bar itself, but putting more pips into something increases its recharge rate or its recovery. So if your shields are being damaged or if they are weak, you want it to look like this right here, with all of the pips in system. If you need to boost or you want to go a little bit further with your speed topping out with boost, engines. And if your weapons like lasers, any kind of energy weapons that we will later discuss, they need a little bit more weapons. Maybe they need to recharge. They'll take that bar. It's like a battery capacity. They will reduce that, and you can kind of have a different combination of all of them. Sometimes you don't need very much in weapons because maybe it's not power hungry, so you can kind of keep it like this sometimes. That's just your power capacitor. A little bit further over, we'll go into greater detail about how this matters. But going further over, you see where it says fuel, and right now it has 0.0 per hour. There's like a little radio signal up top that is important to some degree. Just another feature of the game. But the important part right here is looking at our fuel source. And the large blocks is essentially our main tank. There is another bar that will be above that, and you can kind of see the fuel gauge start going down if we're zooming around in a solar system. We're not jumping, and we're not just sitting still. But that smaller bar will be taken up, and it will show the fuel per hour. That's what that little 0.0 right now. We're not going anywhere. But if we were just sitting here, just zooming around in space, it would be taken up by a certain ratio. And then we have the blocks right here that are glowing, mass locked. That just means that we're next to a heavier object. Right now we're in the station and we're docked. But if we were close to a planet, or if a larger ship than us, something heavier, anything heavier, can kind of ground us, it kind of locks us in from charging your jump drive. And we'll discuss that later too. But right now we're just going over all of the different functions of the heads up display and everything in the cockpit itself. The second line says that where our landing gear is deployed. If I was flying, I could toggle that off and on. Once again, we want to check our key bindings because later on we will need to do some of this. We will be leaving, and then we will come back and dock at the same starport. And then below that, we have cargo scoop. Now, I'm not scooping anything. I don't need to collect anything at the moment, so it is off. And that's it for the right side. We'll get into the power distributor and the 3 bars. We'll get into that later, what all those things correlate with. There's a little bit more to it with system. It's not just your shields. And weapons can, if it gets low and you're starting to run dry, it can actually turn up the heat on your ship. Just a little component later on. We will discuss it later. Right now, we're just in a stock, run-of-the-mill, bare bones Sidewinder. It's the same thing that you would be given if you had a fresh account. And a lot of people want to rush things. They want to get into a larger ship, a more expensive one, more cargo, more combat capabilities, more jump range for their jump drive, which is called a frame shift drive in this game. But what people don't understand is this little Sidewinder, this stock ship, and I'm gonna go into outfitting real quick just to show you. Let me look up. Go into livery, and this little guy right here is the guinea pig. It's the test subject, the crash dummy for anything that you need to do. This can do it without penalty. It will not do anything to a great measure, but it can go places, and it can do a little bit of combat. It can barely do trade missions or move cargo, and it can barely explore. But it can do all of those things without much hindrance on your learning capacity. So it's the guinea pig. It's the test dummy. So there's our panels. I'll explain them later. But on the middle of the panel, we have the starport services. If we wanted to leave, we have launch. And since we are in Odyssey, which is the expansion, it's the on-foot stuff, we can disembark. We can walk out at any time. I will also handle combat stuff and on-foot missions at a later date. We're just going to go over the core tenets of flying a starship. And I'm just looking around the cockpit a little bit further. It's very tight, very low tech, if you will. Nothing sophisticated about this little guy. Up here, I wish I could zoom in. I know there's a keybind for it, but essentially there's the clock, and any kind of game messages will appear right here. If you kill something, maybe you shoot something down, that's where the bounty message will pop up if he was a wanted criminal. If you destroy something you shouldn't have or became a criminal, messages like that will appear. It'll let you know you got 300,000 for destroying that pirate. Stuff like that will pop up right there. Or if you collected mining materials, that's kind of like the information pane. But the other one over here is your contacts panel, and it kind of straightens out the view when I select it. So that's it selected, and I can kind of look straight. But if I look at it again, it'll pan over. And from top to bottom, I have them tabbed, but from top to bottom, we have local chat, which is anyone sharing our local space, anyone that we can visually see or is somewhere in the vicinity. So if we were in open play and there were other people docked at this station, we could talk in local chat. And then from there, we have messages from other players. I have that tabbed just so it can be discerning from other random messages. Anyone who messages you and you message back, it's a bit of like a private window, but it's not sophisticated. And then we have system chat. Every time you jump to a new system, that will change. And it'll just, if you're making several jumps, it'll just continue to say entering new channel, entering channel. And what system chat is for is perhaps you're an acquaintance, maybe not a friend, but an acquaintance is at one location close by. Let's say close by a star or a series of planets, maybe a moon, maybe a big gas giant like Saturn, and you're further away. You're not going to be able to chat locally, but you and many other people, if they were there, can chat within the system chat. And system chat works regardless of what game mode that you are in. So whether you are in open play, private group, or you're playing solo, what's going to happen is anyone that is in that system can chat with each other. And that is both for good reasons and bad reasons. Sometimes you want to do OPSEC and you want to keep your mouth shut and not let everyone know that you're working in that solar system. Maybe that's enemy territory. This is just scenario given examples. Maybe you don't want to be a loudmouth. They don't know that you're there. So maybe you don't want to speak up. The next one down is if you are in a grouping, team chat or crew chat. If you are flying together in separate ships or running around on foot, it's a team. If you are doing the invitation where someone magically, holographically meets you in your ship, and they're not physically there, but they have kind of, they call it telepresence, but you multi-crew, where someone else jumps in a holographic way. That is the crew part. But either way, that would all be team or crew. So pretty much anyone in your party. And the maximum party size is 4 at the time of recording this video. From here on out, going further down, we have squadron chat. That is guilds. EVE Online calls it corporations. But squadron chat is just for anyone. It doesn't matter if they're on your friends list or not. If they're in your squadron, you can talk to them. And this is the place to do that. These messages stay a little bit longer, so even if you're briefly online with someone else, you can send a message. Maybe they might see it later. And this is a good way to kind of leave temporary messages instead of trying to message them directly. There's other factors in squadrons. I'll get to that at a later date and go over the details of that. And of course, with squadrons, you also have the upper echelon. Squadron leaders have their own chat too. So if you are actually in a large enough squadron, you could talk about more secretive things here. So we have our little messages. If I call a ship to a location and it took 20 minutes for it to get there, it'll notify me in this window right here, the little inbox. If I told my carrier to jump, it would let me know. This right here is the friends list. If I was in open play or potentially private group with people online, the option to multi-crew would be here. And then I could either invite others or I could queue to join someone else's telepresence, their multi-crew session. And I get to pick what activity that they are doing. I might take a picture or add something later on, but at present, if I was in open play and I wanted to multi-crew just with a random individual, I would click on the prompt for it, and it would usually say something like bounty hunting, because that's what most people do when they multi-crew. And there would be little crosses or little plus signs in the bracket there at the selection. and that would tell me that there are actually people present doing multi-crew, and I can join. Right here is the recent players. It is only going to show actual commanders. This is if you're in open play or private group. It doesn't matter if they were your friend. It doesn't matter if you were squad mates or if you're sworn enemies. It doesn't matter. They're all going to pop up. This is like a player interaction list. It just kind of gives you the history. And then right here is the squadron bulletin board. We don't have much going on. We're pretty laid back. We don't really post things. And then right here is the settings tab of your comms panel. People can request voice communication with you without even being in a group, in a wing. And this is where I have everything tabbed over. So if I don't want system tabbed, see right here, it's gone. But I can tab it again, and there it is. It's back. And then over here, I usually have the profanity filter off and voice channels auto enable and stuff like that. Those are just minor adjustments for a lot of social things. Most games have them. So anyway, we're done with the top ones, and we're done with the core components of the HUD. There will be maybe 2 or 3 more things on the HUD that I will discuss, but they will not be visible or available until we undock. And before we undock, I want to talk about the other panels that I have kind of panned over right here and right there, the left and right panel. The easiest way that I can explain the panels from a contextual way is your left panel it concerns everything outside of your ship. So I have filters on, and I'm going to turn the filters. I'm going to turn all of them. I'm just going to put every single one of these on, and it will show you the context of which it shows you the little emblems right here, the little pictures. It shows you what they are. So, and there's some things that will be kind of weird. But right here, we have the first star. It's the only star in this system. And then the regular planets will be these little circles with a little crescent in them. We can't land on those. That's a big station, Coriolis station. That's where we are right now. We can see the indicator in blue. And then we have a smaller outpost, an orbital outpost. If I click on it, it will show me that it will give me some information about what the economy is and the conditions, like a status, but it will say has appropriate landing pads. Just so we are aware early on, some places don't have appropriate landing pads. So if I was in a large ship, I can't land at those smaller outposts. But I'm in the smallest ship there is, so I can land anywhere. And then as we go further down, we will find that this planet, and it'll remind us it has it's suitable for landing. This one with the little moon rover or blue, the little cyan blue ship emblem, it lets you know that it is landable. Whereas this one right here does not. It says suitable for landing, no. But you can always have a rule of thumb if you see the blue. So it usually means either Odyssey or landable planet. And see right here, this is an Odyssey settlement. After this, these are carriers with the triangular formation. One is highlighted because it is mine, and it is also bookmarked. One is not. It is not bookmarked, and it is not mine. So it's not going to show up with any other color modifiers. So we can go here and view this little blue place. That is a Odyssey settlement. And we can see it's got normal service. The economy is high tech, and yes, it has appropriate landing pads. And then right here, you can still land at this, but it doesn't matter if you are in Odyssey or not. So the blue doesn't take over, but it is a planetary port. And we have a few more on the list. See right here, we have a blue emblem on this planet, this little moon here, and it's a little bit further out. And it has one place that isn't Odyssey related and one place that is. So if I were traveling and I saw a place called Wafer Enterprise and it has no blue modifier, it's just like a blank area. It says it's a large settlement, but docking is offline. So it's just a placeholder facility. It's not a place we can just get out and walk around and interact with things. But its next door neighbor, Nomura Analysis Complex, is. So it has appropriate landing pads. And it also has missions, see, like trade and smuggling. And we will go there. We will travel around as the video progresses. But we're just going over general navigation filters and some of the emblems, what they mean. This is the furthest from us right now, and that facility, that Nomura Analysis Complex, that shows me that it's about 3,497 light seconds away. That's what that LS stands for under the distance column. After that, that's the last thing that's from us. That's the furthest object or placeholder, facility, starport, whatever it might be. That's the furthest one from us in this solar system. So after that point, it starts showing us the other solar systems, star systems, in a column. This is as far as we could get to. We could go, this is in light years. So there's one place very close to us, 1.7 light years. Another one at 3.19 and 5.52 and 7.66 at Pegasus Sector KXK B8-4. Now, if I know I can jump a little bit further than 7.6, not every single option is going to be visible from this panel, and I will have to go to the galaxy map. But I'm going to take off the irrelevant filters. I'm going to remove some of these planets because it's just, unless I'm exploring, I don't need to see all of this. I only need to see I need to see very little, actually. The stars, not important. If there were asteroid clusters, they would be visible, but not in this solar system. I'm going to take off planets and moons. We can also take off landfall planets and moons. They're not relevant right now. And I'm not going to dock at any settlements just yet. I probably will for this video. Maybe a continuation. Maybe not that. Maybe a part 2 of this video. But for now, we're going to take off settlements and carriers. So we have only stations, which would be spaceports. We can get there from our starship. We don't have to land on a planet to get to them. That would be settlements for the planetary access. What I'm going to do is leave the points of interest and signal sources on. I'm also going to leave the systems on, but sometimes if you're very mission focused and you're staying put, you could probably turn the systems off. So I'm going to take an emergency swig of coffee. So now we can see that the only relevant things we can have on our navigation panel, we've cleared up a lot of the junk, and we can see the large starport right here. We can see the smaller starports right here, and my carrier. My carrier will always be visible. It does not disappear. So if you own something like that, it's not going to go away in your nav panel if you're sharing the same solar system. And this can help filter this will filter out the chance that maybe 30 or 40 people have their fleet carriers sitting in the same solar system, and you just need to get to one. You're not concerned with the rest of them. Excuse me. And of course, there is an orbital construction site in the solar system as well. This is my colony, my first colony. I've built everything by hand by hauling everything in. So we will, here in a moment, we will get to check it out. That's it for the base navigation tab. And I'm going to call these tabs because if you look up here at the very top, as I'm moving them, that's it for navigation. We can change our filters here or completely remove all of them. And then moving down further, we have access to the galaxy map and the system map. I will just briefly click on the system map, and this is another way that we can view, facilities, points of interest. This might be a bit much at first because a lot of it is information pertaining to the solar system's well-being. So from here, I can view the population. I see that they don't have an allegiance. It's in a boom state, so the economy is going to be good. And then these are the economy types. Now, don't get concerned about what all of this means just yet. It's just a part of the background simulation. And I will go into the background simulation at a later date. It's the same with the lore, and the reasons why so many things work the way that they do is because it's just a one-to-one reproduction or simulation of the Milky Way galaxy. So every star it's there. If we know about it, it's there, or it has been procedurally generated. But all of this will be covered in a later time. This is just information heavy and dense. But we could see that we can zoom around and zoom in, zoom out. If it was a much larger solar system, other stars, other planets would be visible. But this is just the makeup of it, and it's a different way to look at things, especially if you don't have the whole picture. So anyway, we're going to back out of that. We're not going to touch the galaxy map just yet. We're going to stay in our neighborhood. We're not going to venture forth just yet. But from here on out, tabbing over, we have the transactions tab. Now we're still in navigation, but we're in the transactions tab of our nav panel, if we want to call it that. There is this right here. This is another way to view. We can have quick access to this information without going into system chat or a system map. Any kind of information like this, it just say, oh, this is it's got 41 million people and it's an anarchy. Okay, good to know. Transactions tabs. Starting from here, if we had any active missions, they would probably be blue. And you can have so many of some kind. If you have a mission to transport cargo, there will be so many available, and then you can max out. I think you can max out at maybe 19 or 20 different missions. But if you have a mission, let's say to go and kill pirates, they will probably only give you so many of those before it tops off. But then you can go get another mission and stack it to go pick up an illegal item, something like that. You can track your transactions, all of your missions, both Odyssey and for ship stuff, for spaceship missions. You can track it all right here, and it will give a detailed list of where it is in the system, or if it's in another system, and what the information is pertaining to. So if it's a particular bounty hunter mission, or if it requires you to bring a list of cargo, maybe it needs like 30 tons of tea or fish or medical equipment. You'll have to go pick it up and drop it off, and it will keep track of that. Going down one panel, we have the passengers list. And yes, you can actually work as a galactic bus driver. You can do luxury tours. It is both It has ships dedicated to the purpose, but you can do it in just any general purpose cargo ship if you want. Um, but what this is for is missions that are specific to passengers, and they have their own stipulations to them. Some of them are kind of close by. They might be short range and they might be long range. So if the payout looks really good in the mission panel, there's probably a reason why, and they probably want to take you very far away. So always look out for that. This right here is for power play assignments. It just gives a automated recommendation of things to do in power play. But if you are not aligned with a superpower, it's not going to give that. So it will be blank. So if you're not interested in power play, this will not pop up. Nothing will be visible. And this is curated for yourself and for your specific power play grouping. And this tab right here with the enunciated star, this will appear if you are participating in community goals. And I will show you very quickly if there are community goals present and if you meet the right criteria. If a community goal starts up and is available, like this one is available, and it's regarding HIP 87621, which is a solar system about 400 light years away from my current location. And this is what the information panel looks like in regards to that community goal. And it'll tell you the details and everything. But this is when you sign up. If there's any reason for a community goal to be specific to an area or a starport or solar system, it will tell you where to sign up. And once you get there, it will be in the in the mission board, and it will have the same enunciated star logo, and it will say community goals, and you can see where people can sign up for the ones that correspond with their superpowers for this one. But sometimes it's oh yeah, here's the passenger lounge, and then the regular mission board. The passenger lounges are separate. Sorry to sidetrack and go off on a tangent, but if somebody wanted to be the galactic bus driver, they want to look in the passenger lounge, not the mission board. But community goals aren't always available, but they do periodically turn up, and you probably want to pay attention to Frontier and in the Elite Dangerous news to see when the next one will appear, because sometimes there are very good rewards tied to them. So back at the transaction tab, going below the community goal, we have claims. This is just a page where your bounty vouchers or your combat bonds, the other redemption tokens, money that has been accredited to you but not turned in yet. And this is where that will appear. And then on the negative side of things, if you have any fines or bounties, this is where this will appear. You can kind of read more into what all can get you a fine versus a bounty. But if you did something wrong or wasted too much time in a starport and they wanted to kick you out, they will fine you. They can also destroy you. But lingering or loitering in an area for too long it'll accrue a fine, and this is where it will pop up if you need to track down where to pay it off. Next up, we have the contacts tab, and to view this, contacts are kind of like a visual detection with your radar. It coincides with your radar, but it can also work to find other materials and any other objects or bodies that are present locally. So you're not going to see planets here. You're not going to see anything larger than a station. And you might see lost cargo, and you will see other ships. and you see the holographic advert right here. It's anything that is interactable. I will put it to you that way. So in some format, I can interact with the station. And there's an eagle that's popping in and out of view. There's a Cobra Mark III. Technically, I can interact with the eagle, violently or otherwise. I can scan him. I can see what he's at. Yeah, there we go. He just flew into view somehow. There we go. So that's what happens when you target them. The holographic advert, that's just the billboards outside of the station. And then when it says high energy FSD wake, that's just letting me know someone activated their jump drive, and that's what's left over. I will go into more of the interactions between this. But if I click on this guy, I'll go back to a ship that is visible. It's in my local contacts. It's close by. Later on, I will undock and I will fly out, and on the radar it can correlate with what I'm seeing. But as you can see here, I can see what his sub targets. It would be my sub targets. Something I can target on his ship that would be visible. No cargo, no manifest scanner installed on my ship, so I can't see what he's carrying, and he's probably not carrying a lot because he's an eagle and he's just a little fighter pilot guy. But I can see he's got a manifest scanner, and I can see what other type of modules that he has present. So, Cobra, there we go. Let's see what the Cobra has. I can also see, if you look at the silhouette, I can also see that they have a rank. I can see their hull and shield. I can see what faction that they are a part of, and if they have a bounty, I can view that too. So all of that is detectable from the contacts screen. Instead of just shooting someone wildly, what you want to do is target them from your contacts tab, and then once fully scanned, you can get the greater details. They might be specific to a mission. All right, I believe that's it for now for the nav panel. The left panel. This correlates with anything outside of the ship. So moving to the right, we have the right side panel, and this is, I'm just going to go ahead and correlate this with anything on the inside of the ship, including you, and including any business stuff too. There are some finer tweaking details for the spaceship, for our guns, for the cargo, all of that, including your stats and your information. It's going to be right here in one form or another. So from here, we can see all of the different ranks that we hold. Combat ranks, exploration ranks. There's also a trade rank. These have values in credits. And then a very, very, very important feature that we want to pay attention to at the bottom is the rebuy cost. And if you had maybe 10,000 credits left over, your rebuy cost would be 1,000 credits, so 1/10 of your total balance. And what we want to do is never fly without a rebuy. The rebuy is the insurance cost of replacing everything that you have on your ship, mark for mark, point for point, the exact same equipment. It's the respawn cost. And it's one of the largest, most prominent, most widely held principle of playing Elite, and you'll hear it across the whole community. Do not fly without a rebuy. So if your rebuy cost was, let's just say 100 million, and you only have 95 million, you might want to downgrade into something more affordable, because even though this Sidewinder is the guinea pig and it's going to be the crash test dummy for these videos until we upgrade, for now, if I just tried to chase the big stuff and didn't know how to properly fly, or didn't know how to adequately adjust my play style to be cautious and know my limits. I could, if I didn't, I could get my ass kicked by a much tougher pirate if I was a newer player. A whole wing of enemies could show up and attack me, and I would not be prepared. Or if I was not paying attention, and if I was trying to explore and I crashed into a planet, well, there goes the rebuy. I would be at the respawn screen, and if I didn't have enough, I would be back in the Sidewinder. So there's that. But with time and with plenty of credits and plenty of patience and knowing your limits early on and knowing what you can and cannot do, we're going to do that in a Sidewinder. But knowing the limitations, we can save ourselves a lot of heartache. And instead of losing, credits and unnecessary credits and unnecessary time. But anyway, no more about that. We'll continue on the tabs of this right screen. So from here we can select a couple of different things. There's our squadron tab. We can go into greater detail. We don't need to see that at the moment. Power play, I can view a little bit more information about the power play ethos and strategy for my power, but we don't need to see that. If you own a carrier, this is where the carrier management screen is. If you do not, it will be grayed out. The Hollow Me is where someone can change their appearance. The Gaudet News has news articles that pop up periodically. It can be narrated, and it is narrated through this little option right here at the bottom. It's got the play and the seek buttons. The codex can be very useful for tracking down information about certain topics. If you're a new player and you want to read up specifically about, let's say, mining or a certain faction in the game, the codex is where it's at. And then engineers, once these guys unlock, these are the, if we're going to use MMORPG terminology, this is where we enchant our weapons and our gear. This is where we push it further than its stock values, for better or worse. But to get more in-game or progress in Elite, I would say engineers would be a close analog for progression in gear. When you're standard, fighter ship or mining ship or cargo or exploration doesn't cut it, you want to go unlock the engineer's access, and they're just people that are scattered across space, and they allow you to upgrade your ship in various ways. All components of the ship, by the way. So this is, I would say, the character screen. And tabbing over, we have the module screen. We have the module tab. From here, I can see every component of the ship and even a little bit extra. I can also see something useless like the system colonization suite. That's if I just want to plop down some type of building in my colony. That's not relevant for most people, though. The discovery scanner, composition scanner, the data leak scanners, those just pertain to certain functions. We'll get to that later on. It's not really something you can cut off. It's just considered a background component of the ship. It's on every ship. We can see that we have a cargo rack, and it has a capacity of 4. We can see the power plant. I can see the integrity of the cockpit canopy. So if there are any hiccups, maybe I'm getting into trouble and I'm getting into a fight that I'm not winning, and I hear my glass break and the cockpit panel bust out, I can see the integrity of it right here. And yes, that is a thing that can happen from time to time. the cockpit canopy can bust out and your life support will cut on. This game is very modular. It's very systemic in how it deals with damage and survival. It's not super survival focused. It's not a DayZ or some type of extreme military sim, but it is still a simulator. It's not quite as sophisticated as Microsoft Flight Simulator with 100 toggles and switches and buttons, but the components of your ship can be interacted with a little further. So I will test this out here soon. Um, I will go into greater detail about some of this stuff and what it pertains to. And hey, we're in the Sidewinder. We're in a ship where we can crash test dummy this stuff to no cost or very, very little cost. But, the overall health and the power usage of every single module, if you can't remember if you put something on there or not, and you want to check very quickly, you can see the details right here. So tabbing over again, we have fire groups, and this is just a 1 or 2 deal. We can do a different setup. Maybe, let's see, a D scanner on 1. And then maybe we want pulse lasers on a next fire group. We could see if we take something off, it deletes the fire group. And I can have as many fire groups as I want and just play around with that. Most of the time you don't need these right here at the bottom. The D scanner is the discovery scanner, and it is a main component in exploration. It can slowly earn you credits as you just kind of hopscotch your way across the galaxy. And that's just something that you activate every time you hop into a system, especially one that's not been explored. That's really important. But if you're more of a combat pilot, this is where you can adjust all of your bells and whistles, all the guns. Maybe you want maybe like a missile or a machine gun on one fire group or a button. And then let's say this other pulse laser is actually, let's say the top one would be a machine gun, some type of multi-cannon is what it's called in this game. And maybe this one is the actual pulse laser. So we have two different kinds of weapons sitting here. I don't want to shoot them at the same time, so I'll do a 1 and a 2. And let's say maybe we're in something else, and I'm just going to have all multi-cannons. I want machine guns across the board. Well, I just kind of go down the list and just put 2 on everything, and they will be categorized by the type of modules that they are. If you look right where it says fire groups, below that it says beam. I don't. It's a pulse laser. I don't know why it's called beam laser right here, but beam would be a laser. So all your laser stuff will be right there, and then you see below that is the utility. So there's a couple of scanner things and data link scan. It's utility stuff. We don't have to have that on. It doesn't need to be in a fire group right now. But the very least, I'm going to do this right here. It's going to be on my fire button 1. You can't have a 3 or a 4 or a 5. Every ship is limited to either fire group 1 or 2, or excuse me, fire button 1 or 2. And if you had anything else, you just have to go over here and do it in fire group B, and then drop you a different list of stuff. You can kind of mix and match from there and just kind of keep track of that. So continuing on, under the ship panel, this is where things get a little bit more fun. It's less boring. We have external lights. You might not be able to tell, but the lights are on, the headlights. Every ship has them. We can kind of see it die down up there. Yeah, we can kind of see it. It might be more prominent the darker it is. And then here we have night vision. All right, so it's not very detectable, or it's not detectable at all, but it will be if we undock, and I will run that soon. A lot of this stuff is like a manual operation of ship functions, and I will explain all of these. External lights, night vision, those are self-explanatory. The landing gear is explanatory, and it is deployed. The cargo scoop is retracted, and these are grayed out because we're not going anywhere. We are docked. Beacon, what the beacon option is for, and you can see that I can toggle it off or team. The only thing that is for is if we are in a group with other players and they need to know about where I'm at in a solar system, or I think even on the galaxy map. So the beacon it's just kind of like a little marker, pinpoint marker for someone else to know that you are in X spot. And if I don't know that person, if I don't know, if I just don't want someone to know where I am, I can set the beacon off. And then from here, we have reboot and repair. If we have a lot of malfunctions going on, we'll get to this later. But reboot repair can kind of fix some issues with the modules over here. So you see that the health is all at 100, but if I'm taking damage, or if I have a lot of internal damage occurring, and some of my modules are going haywire, I'm gonna have to go over here, stop, and hit reboot repair. Not all the time. You can limp back to a station, but if you just have to have your thrusters or your jump drive at its best to get home, reboot repair would be the best option. As a side note, not to go on a tangent, but there are modules to help repair things ad hoc. So you can stop what you're doing and have a separate module to repair your shield generator, your thrusters, everything, literally everything, but your power plant. Once the power plant gets knocked out, that's a little bit more, troublesome. The turret weapon fire mode, that is more pertaining to your guns. The turrets are a different weapon than, let's say, I'll get into this in just a minute. But turrets, I don't have any turrets, but I could either select forward firing. The other options would be fire at will and fire at target, or target fire only. That pertains to the turret type of weapons and what the behavior that you want them to be. So if you're on a large ship and you have horrible angles, but you do have plenty of hard points, maybe you're in a large cargo transport ship, you can tell the turrets that once they start getting a hostile target in range, you can tell it either to fire at anything that is a red hostile enemy, or you can tell them just to fire at the only thing that you have targeted. That's kind of what that signifier is for, this little option right here. But since I don't have anything equipped, it's just telling me forward fire. So that's kind of the default. And if you did have turrets and you had forward fire activated, they're going to act like regular fixed weapons. They're not going to point at anything. They're not going to open. They're not going to. They're only going to shoot when you shoot them. So it works that way. And silent running. All right, so from here, silent running, I would not recommend this for any new pilots. But this traps your heat signature, and if you want me to give a lore base reason for that, it closes the heat vents on your ship. Your heat does build up inside, but for exterior external, contacts. Anybody in the contacts list, they're not going to pick you up. So this federal gunship right here, I'm in silent running, and if I can keep my temperature down really low, he's not going to be able to pick me up on his radar. And if I'm a cargo ship and I have some goods that I'm smuggling, they're not clean, they're outlawed, uh, illegal cargo, and I'm smuggling into a station, I can hit silent running, and they're not going to pick me up. But we're going to cut that back on because it's not necessary right now, and it's only useful in niche situations. And then it is grayed out, but at the bottom there is a self-destruct option. So going further down, we have our flight assistance. Flight assist, we'll get into that soon, but flight assist correlates with Newtonian physics. If it is on, your movements are going to correlate with general helicopter, airplane flight capabilities. But flight assist off. Let's see. Let's tab them real quick. Okay, so I can hear the announcer lady say flight assist off. Okay, and she tells me when it's back on. So what that does is if it's off, it turns your ship into a more what they say Newtonian physics model, and we'll test it out here soon. But essentially you're going to be able to go in one direction, turn flight assist off, and then while maintaining that vector, your ship can actually turn on its axis, and you can look behind you while still moving in that X or that Y direction, and the ship can just turn. It's like gyroscopic maneuvers. It is much more easily explainable in person once we get outside the station. So, and if you have this module available, we have auto dock, auto launch, and auto land. What's the difference between launch and land? Land is for land. Okay, I'm sorry. The auto land function is if you approach a planet surface and you're not sure about finding a suitable spot. You just turn this on and it'll find one for you. It'll generally hover around. The vast majority of people leave these two on right here. Rotational correction on, hyperspace dethrottle on. Might want to double check on hyperspace dethrottle and test it. That just correlates with if you're traveling around from planet to planet, or star to planet, or station to station. This will help you decelerate at an appropriate level. See, and it even goes further: auto dethrottle or manual throttle. And this is just so you don't slam into something and it causes issues. Rotational correction, that is only relevant inside the station. I will activate that and deactivate that soon. So, and from further on, we have a bit more UI stuff. The interface brightness, if I click on it, we can change the settings, the brightness settings. The display clock, okay, that's up. That would be up right here. Yep. So if you look way up here, we don't have a clock anymore. But I can turn that back on. Look up. Yeah, he's back there. Okay. Orbit lines. The orbit lines correlate with the pathway, planetary objects, stars, not so much, but planets, moons, gas giants, everything like that. Orbit lines will appear, and they will show you the path that the stellar bodies are moving on. So if you think about it like a record, that's the groove of the record. And I leave them off for more of a visually pleasant experience. And then the sensor scale type, that would be logarithmic and linear. I used to know what that does, but that will pertain to your sensors down here that we will soon get to. And then report crimes against me. I have it off because I am a criminal. But if you're an innocent commander of good standing, you probably want that on. That way, anybody that harasses you, they're gonna have the police called on them. But I don't need backup, so I tend to leave it off. There we go. The gun sight mode, that will be relevant later with fixed weapons. Pre-flight checks, what that's good for is if you turn that on and try to take off and launch, that will go through your cargo scoop, your landing gear, and your thrusters. It's a pre-flight check. It's literally what it says it is. Every time you take off, before you do, it will ensure that you can memorize and know the different basic functions. So let's try it out real quick. It's on. So launch, and here we go. Manual thrusters. Let's see. Sorry, maneuver thrusters. We have up. Okay. Yep, there we go. Got down. Can we do side to side? No. Can we yaw? Let's roll. Yep, we can roll. Okay, and we pitch. All right, we can pitch up. And then landing gear test. Let's see, where is he? There you go. And it's going to say different things on this pre-flight checklist before. It's going to say different things according to your keybinds. And as you change it, it will change too. All right, weapon deploy test. There you go. Target. Yep. And then UI focus. I'm not going to touch that. I don't want to touch that. So enjoy one. There we go. Okay. We can get to more of these navigational panels later. Oh yeah, there's location status icons. Oh, and there's the flight correction is off. I'm sorry, flight assist was off. So if let's see, let's try it out. Cut them off. And we're just floating right now. There's no other inputs. Let's try something else. So I'm sitting in the station. There's my radar available now in the front of me. And I will get to a little bit more in just a second regarding that radar. But if we turn all right. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Anyway, let's go back up and let's go to that rotational correction. Here we go. All right. So this thing is just going to move regardless of what the station is doing. So I'm actually having to input slightly and correct the floating behavior. But if I'm in a station, one of these big ones, and I hit this on, okay, so now it fixes it. There are no inputs going on, and you can see by looking at the mail slot, as they say, I'm not moving. I'm not twisting around like this or acting like a test dummy for Interstellar. And if I do flight assist, it's more mild, but flight assist is just a different input capability. It doesn't matter what the station's doing at that point. So let's just ease our way out of here. And I am just about 50% on the throttle. All right. Let's bump it up a little bit, and you see my adjustments on the pips of my distributor, the power distributor. When I'm leaving and entering these starports, I'm putting more energy in systems for the shield, and then I'm also bumping the engines a little bit so I can leave in a timely manner. And so I'm just kind of, the throttle's at 100% right now, and we can see that blockage right there in the stars. That's the planet, but we're on the back side of it. There we go. So I can see the horizon, that little horizon coming over. It's a reddish hue, and we're going to take what we learned here. Let's see, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to let the throttle go to 0, and you can see on the radar screen, it's going to have 2 bars that are kind of cusping the radar. And on the right side is the throttle inputs. That the top number will be your speed. Let me kind of just have, here we go. I'm just kind of get in the middle, look at the middle between the planet and the starport. And yeah, I accidentally hit the night vision. It might help out a little bit. I don't know. So if I put thrust forward just a little bit, I'm just kind of do about 50% right here. Yeah, I just a little adequate throttle, and we can see that the little slider goes up and down depending on how much I hit it. So 0 and 100, and then about 50, and there's a sweet spot that it has the sweet spot indicated on that right bar, and it's the blue. The blue tells me that as long as I stay within that range right here. See, I'm kind of playing with it now, but see, I'm just back and forth in the blue, just trying to keep it matched with my speed. And that blue is the sweet spot for the best maneuverability. And if I need to do a turn, if I need to reach something in particular, and just moving around, just goofing off. Let's see. Yeah, we're just kicking it. But if I max it out like this right here, the turns are much wider. Airplanes are very similar. If you ease off the throttle and then roll into a turn, it's going to be better than just kicking your throttle or your thrust at max capacity and then trying to correct your behavior. So let's see, we're going to ease this off a little bit. And there's the station right here in view. I'm going to get close, not super close, but there's the other mail slot, the outside of the mail slot. There's only one entrance and exit, and I'm just going to sit right here with it in view. We can do night vision off. It looks a little bit prettier that way. So from here, we've discussed the throttle on the right of the radar. This right here. You see the bar moving up and down, and there it is reaching 0. On the left, we have, let's see, that's heat. That's a heat gauge. I'm sorry, I'm also playing with the range of my radar. The stock keybind for that is page up and page down. Not many people need to bother with it, but in case if you don't like the way, excuse me, if you don't like the way the objects look, if you need it further out, if you need to pan it out, you can do page up. Or if you want to see everything pretty close, you do page down. There we go. It took me about 1,000 hours in the game to actually realize that's what that does. But on the left right here, and I'm going to center the look, I'm going to center the view. The left side bar is the heat level, and you can actually see a small flame icon right there at the top of that. And then we can see the value at 36%. Now it's not going to give you like a temperature gauge. It doesn't work that way, but it just shows me that I'm pretty low on the temperature. 36 is and we're idling. We're not close to anything hot like a star, and I'm not trying to burn anything up like crazy lasers or machine guns or what have you that would raise my heat level. So let's do one thing. Let me go back to UI. All right, don't worry. We're just going to put those back. Just going to stow those real quick. The good thing is I'm doing these tests in an anarchy system, and there's no rules. So I could be a criminal if I want to, and with no repercussions. But we're going to do a little test. We're going to turn on silent running. And remember, that heat right there is at 36%. So if we turn silent running on, it's going to cut our shields off, and it's going to close those thermal vents. Now watch it rise up. It's at 44, 46. It's about to, if there's 50. So if I was carrying some cargo, I could hit silent running, and then I could sneak into that starport. Of course, I'd still have to request docking, and we're going to do that soon. So I'm going to turn silent running. Silent running is off because I don't need it to be on any further, and I want my shields to come back. We're going to put all pips of shields because of that. And while we're sitting here zooming around, all right. All right, so I'm at max throttle, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn flight assist off while heading in one direction. There's a good boost. Let's see. I'm going to find something here. All right. This is what I'm talking about. So the spaceship is still heading towards the planet right there. But what I'm doing is rotating the ship. Let me recorrect. I'll correct a little bit. All right. So I'm turning the ship backwards, but the vector, my path of travel, is still in its original direction. And it can still get crazier. So now I'm throttling against my current vector. And it can actually display if I'm moving backwards on that speedometer down there. So now I'm heading back towards the station, and I'm just going to slowly flip around. You can actually hear the thrusters accommodate. Little small micro thrusters there. All right, so from here, throttle against my vector. See the arrow moving backwards. There we go. And it will work the same from a sideways position. I'm going to throttle. I have the capabilities to throttle left and right. And let's see. Let's point towards the spaceports for reference. All right, so I can actually go down, go up. That's how we lift. and then go side to side. So I'm actually moving sideways in relation to the ship. So you have 6 degrees of motion that you can take advantage of. All right. If we need a solid reference for terminology with flight controls, think of your head, your cranium, as a ship or a plane. And then I want you to think about the word pitch. Pitch is the nose of, in this case, your head, or the airplane or the spaceship, pointing up and down. So let's take a good look at the starport, and we're going to follow along with the ship itself. This right here is the pitch. The nose is coming up and down, just like if you were nodding yes. All right, so the next terminology that we want to go to is roll. And roll's pretty obvious. And this would just be a roll to the left and a roll to the right, a complete barrel roll. And what that is for, this would be like a dog or someone listening further, turning their head sideways. You can do that. Do this with your head. That's a roll. And the next one will be the yaw, Y-A-W, yaw. And it is not quite a roll, but it is the shifting of the nose in a lateral format. So think like shaking your head no. This would be a yaw. So what we covered here is the pitch, which would be the Y axis. And then we covered the X axis with yaw. But you can also cover it in a sense by moving to the right with your thrust or to the left with your thrust. Because I have 6 degrees. But most people just worry about forward and backward, up and down, and the pitch and yaw and roll. And the better the ship, the better the thrusters, the better the movements. So now that we've been out here goofing off and learning our directions and the Newtonian physics of flight assist off, and no one has to use flight assist off. They can leave it on for the duration. But this just shows you that any inputs that you put in after that, they get treated differently. They get treated as if you are an object that is in motion will stay in motion until some other force counteracts it. Definitely not something you want to leave off and then get up and go use the restroom or take a dog out or go see a movie. It may not end well if you are traveling in one direction. So from here, we also have our ship statistics. This just tells us it's like a stat page for the ship and the health. We do have module health right here, so that's on a micro level. But on the macro level, we have just the base stats: shield health of 52, armor health of 108. That's your hull. So if I could get it to 100, if I didn't need those 8 points somewhere, the 100% down here at the bottom, right here, would be 100 armor. And then the resistance values for kinetic and thermal and explosive. Those will come by later in outfitting, uh, but they're not vital just yet. Only if we were doing combat would that pertain to what we need to do. Right now, we're just learning the core tenets of this little Sidewinder. And then moving on, we have inventory. From here, we can see the ship cargo, if we had some. We can also filter it out for certain things, mission-wise, maybe stolen. I've never had so many different types of cargo that I needed that filter. And then if we were mining, this is where the refinery would be. Just for this video, we're not going to go into detail now, but just for the sake of this video, the refinery is where chunks of ore or rocks or ice, that's where they are collected before they are 100% completed. And I will display that later on. Going down, we have materials. These are persistent across any ship that you have, so you don't lose them. But they correlate with engineering. It's going to be a lot to talk about, but essentially that is the loot that you find when something blows up. Or it might be a mission reward. We don't know. We would have to go look at certain values to find where to find, let's say, antimony or arsenic. Those have certain conditions to go and discover where they are. They're not, let's see, collected on planet surfaces and from asteroids. It's a common element. It's a raw material. Okay, so if arsenic is a common element and a raw material, that tells me that basic conductors would not be. It is very common, and it's a manufactured material. It shows us where it can be found. Found in ships, frequently used by haulage vessels. So if somebody blew up in front of me, some poor soul, probably not by my doing, surely not, but if it blew up in front of me and it was a hauling vessel, like a cargo ship of some kind, it's probably going to drop basic conductors. And it also tells me, look right here on the right, it says locations. It can be found at settlements, at shipwrecks, or mission rewards. It can be traded at a manufactured material trader in high security, populated industrial economies. Now that's a big mouthful, but essentially, as time goes on and I start collecting this material, I might have enough of one kind and not enough of another to upgrade my equipment. It's just like enchanting or smithing or something else in some of these MMORPGs. And this is essentially your crafting material. That's all it is. Some on a very niche, very specific, confined access. Let's see. The grade will be able to tell you. So biotech conductors, those are pretty rare. That's a rare manufactured, very rare manufactured material. Yeah, used by factions as a reward for mission contracts. So they're a lot rare. They're more rare than biomechanical conduits, and they're like a grade 3. So that's that. That's all the materials right there. As I go down the list, some of them are maxed out, some of them I have very little. But they can be traded raw, manufactured, and there's another material that's called data, and that's encoded. And instead of picking those up physically, They're usually found by scanning the wakes of the spaceship jump drives when they leave those high wakes or low wakes. Those will give you encoded material. They're not really material physically, but they will give you encoded scans, if you will. We can call it that, or data. If you scan them, scan ships, or there might be some antennas on a location that you scan, and you can pick it up that way too. Let's see. Found by scanning ships or mission rewards. Can be traded at encoded security. Okay. So data point. Yeah, data point networks. So you can find them there. Maybe you're in your moon rover and you come across something that is scannable. And after you do that, it gives you maybe 2 or 3 different types of encoded materials. So with synthesis in our next tab, the synthesis, this is just using materials, engineering equipment, all those materials that I've talked about just a minute ago. You can resupply. You can refill weapon ammunition. You can restore your life support if it goes out. You can also, it's expensive, but you can inject your frameship drive, your jump drive, to go a little bit further. I can do 100% if I wanted to, but certainly not on a rinky-dink Sidewinder. And then there's my cabins. So this correlates with your transactions and your passenger list. You could go on the right side and just how you have your cargo and your mining chunks, you could have your cabins and see which ones are available, which ones are empty, which ones are full. There's a few different kinds. So if you want to be Galactic School Bus person, there's more information for you in this little window. Storage. So what is the difference between inventory and storage? Your inventory is for your spaceship, and your storage is for your person. And they are persistent. It doesn't matter what spaceship you are in. If you blow up and you die and you have to go to the rebuy screen, the materials you have on you in inventory, right here and right here, they stay with you. If you die and you were on foot, not including the things in your backpack at the time of death, but if you've been stocking up on materials for a few days and you've been loading them into your spaceship, or every time you climb in, it gets loaded onto your spaceship. They're all going to be right here, and this is all the on-foot stuff. And it kind of works the same. It has data, it has goods, and it has asset materials. Consumables are more like your loadout stuff. So we have med kits and we have grenades. But everything else, this is for your engineering with on-foot capabilities. And it can be explored. You can, let's see, go a little bit further. Chemical catalyst. Okay, there's a little bit less information to get off of these items compared to the ship inventory materials. But anyway, moving on. Lastly, we have the status panel, and all this tells us it is not quite inside the ship information, but this kind of correlates with who you are and your relationship with other forces in the galaxy, in the solar system. And if we go right here, this is one way that we can see the factions in this very solar system. And there will always be a panel right here as long as there is a population. If there's no one living in the system, if it is uninhabited, it's not going to have a government, and it's not going to have a population, and it's not going to have a faction living there. And a faction or excuse me, a solar system could have at least one faction, and it can have up to 7. But this is where we can go, and we can see the economy scale, what it's doing, where it's at right now, and it can also show security levels. And the reputation is in relation to myself and the conditions for what I can do, what I can get away with, how much I get paid, or how much I am rewarded with a mission. And then the current state just shows, like, okay, we saw earlier on the other panel that it was in boom, which it says an economic boom is a period of economic growth and prosperity. Well, that's good. That means everything's going to be a little bit better. If we try to sell something, or if we turn in a mission, we'll get paid a little bit more. So that's good. This is just another way to see detailed information for the minor, we're going to call them minor factions when they are in a solar system. And these guys right here, I guarantee you, they're in more than one solar system right now because I colonized from another solar system into this one. This was uninhabited when I got here, but now it's populated. But there might be little minor factions that only pertain to one solar system. They don't grow, and they don't go anywhere else. The background simulation, this is starting to get into muddy waters, but just as an aside, more detailed information can be seen for your solar system and the factions within it. So, if you're just browsing through and you want to grab a mission from somebody, well, if I'm allied with the top guy and I'm not allied with these guys, I'm gonna go for the missions that help him out because he's gonna have better rewards. Moving onward, we have the superpowers itself: the Federation, the Empire, and the Alliance. This isn't a grand minor faction by minor faction reputation, but it is the Federation, the Empire, and the Alliance as a whole. So anytime you do a mission or complete something for any federal group, any Empire or Alliance group, regardless of where they are, you're helping their goals and you are increasing your reputation with the superpowers. Are there any benefits? Actually, yes. When you increase your rank with the Federation and the Empire, you do get access to starship unlocks that are blocked behind a rank. So you can see that on this screen, my rank says Admiral for Federation and Duke for the Empire. And what that means is I've done enough missions and accrued enough reputation with them over time and completed the missions to rank up. And from a nobody to these higher ranks, you get access to permits to go into solar systems that not many people have access to, and then you also get the starships that are blocked behind Federation and Empire rank, respectively. So, Federal assault ship, Federal gunship, the Federal corvette. For the Empire, you have the Courier, you have the Clipper, and you have the Cutter as the starships. Moving onward, we have a session log, and this just tells me what type of stuff has occurred. And if I've gone a lot of places, done a lot of things, I can kind of look back and say, well, what solar system did I see that really cool? Well, which one did I get repaired at? That was a neat solar system. That was a neat starport. What was the name of that starport? Ah, here it is. Okay. So that's what that is for. This is a more direct finance panel. If the other one over here didn't make it clear enough, you can go to the finances and see that. And then this is the permit tab. And this is just all of the solar systems that I have a permit unlocked for. You cannot jump to a solar system you do not have a permit for. It just will not allow it. Sol system right up there at the top left, that is where Earth is. And not everybody immediately gets that. And Akinar, Summerland, those are Imperial home worlds. Sirius, that's more of an alliance place. Alioth, right there, towards the bottom, that's more of an alliance solar system. So, getting reputation bonuses and working with the engineers and just basically being a well traveled individual can get you these permits and get you access to spaceships that are a little bit better than the common rinky dink. And then the very last tab, which is not quite a tab, but if you had selected any Galnet news, there we go. This is where you can listen to the Galnet news as a voiceover while you're also doing other things in Elite. And they don't come out with as many as they used to. So a bit sad about that. But anyway, that is the core tenets of flying and understanding the HUD. There is one more screen, and it is down below here. It is a lot more self-explanatory, and I'm not going to cover it for very long, but you have your person and your loadouts for your person, your individual commander, not the ship, and you can control what suits. I'm going to cover Odyssey stuff later on, but for now, this is just where you can access your loadouts. So if you are about to undock, walk out, disembark, this is where you can change those factors. Maybe you didn't want a shotgun, you need a laser pistol. If you were in a fighter-capable ship, this is where you could access the fighter bay. And if you have a moon rover, also it's mainly called the SRV, Surface Recon Vessel, I believe is what that stands for, but I like to call it the moon rover. If you were landed on a planet, this is where you would access your SRV and deploy it from there. But it is a very straightforward, simplistic panel, and I was mainly wanting to cover your HUD, your navigational panel, and your ship panel. So now we are ready to dock back at the station. And I'm just going to get him in view. And now, even though I can see him in the nav panel, and I can lock right here. Okay. There's one important thing that I want to show on the HUD, and it wasn't really available until we locked or selected that starport. Now, if you look down at the HUD, at the radar, like I said, at the left of that radar, we have a heat bar. And that's our heat signature. Now go up just a little bit and look for the circle, the small circle in the corner, and it's got a glowing blue dot. What that blue dot represents, and it's highlighted, what the blue dot represents is the starport. And if you pay attention, as I move, it rotates on a 3D axis like an eyeball, and it's slowly going away. It's slowly looking down, and as that starport starts to leave our vision, we also notice that the blue dot slowly disappears as well. So the blue dot there, it comes back slowly into view. And I'm going to completely turn around, by the way, just to show you what it looks like when I face away. So it's kind of hollowed out. It's kind of blackened. It looks like an eclipse. And what that tells me, if it's dead on, it may not be able to tell in the video, but there's actually a crosshair on that little circle, that little sphere. And I have it dead on with the eclipsed, blackened out dot. It was blue, but now it's kind of hollowed. So that tells me that what I have targeted right now as an object is completely behind me. It is the complete opposite direction. So if I need to face the station, I'm going to pitch upward, and I'm just going to rotate the ship all the way. Here we go. I did a 180, and there it is. I'm dead on, and you can tell. I'm going to straighten up the view here, but you can tell that I'm dead on with the starport, and that view of the sphere with the highlighted blue, it correlates with the object I have targeted. Not ships, but any large relevant item. Like let's see, let me target my carrier, and now it has switched to something else. So without even looking, I can tell at that little sphere. I don't even have to look like this way for any kind of indicator. See right here, there's my carrier. That's its like waypoint if we were to take off. But if I look down here, I don't even need to look around. I don't need to change my view. I don't need to do anything like that. This little orb, the little sphere, tells me I need to kick it to the right and that it's just barely in view. And there we go. And just for one more, there's some signals over here, so I wouldn't be too concerned with that. But if we're looking at, there's Night City, there's the starport. See, now it's just on the cusp of being highlighted, but it's hollow, and it's at the lower end. So I'm just going to just pitch and kind of yaw until it comes back, and there it is. Dead center. All right. So now I'm going to dock, and I don't do it from this navigation panel because this is just like a reference sheet for traveling. But we're going to have to do something else. We're going to go to our contacts tab because this object now is in our local space. It's a local object we can interact with. Remember what I said about the contacts tab. These are objects that are local, that are interactable in some way. And as I go down the list, well, I can't really do anything with this stuff. I could scan this little starship right here, but I don't even know why that said that. But I can kind of interact in a sense with this right here. Maybe with that one too, if he comes into my view. I got to be facing him to scan him. But if I go to the starport, it says request docking. So what I'm going to do is I will select him. There we go. And then since I have him targeted, the starport popped up as a little icon on that far left little screen right here, just next to the sphere, and even further away from my my temperature. And if I look really closely, it's a little faint. It may not be detectable on the video, but when I'm in my ship, I can see arrows on that little hexagon, octagon, dodecahedron. I can see that it is pointing downward and to the left. And I can look up, and I can pretty much by second nature just tell about what direction the mail slot or the docking bay is at. And this is just a little hint here. There are starports that look like this and look like a few other facilities. But if they spin at all, they're always going to spin one way or the other. They're not going to be traveling sideways. They're not going to have you try to chase down the mail slot in that capacity. Excuse me. they're not going to be flipping sideways, is what I'm saying. They're always going to turn like a top or a ladle on their end like this. And another hint that's really important to know is that the mail slot, the docking bay, is always going to face the planet that it is orbiting. And I will prove that right now. So I know the mail slot is down here because I can see the arrows pointing on the little green dodecahedron indicator. And it matches up. I know I'm not in the wrong place. If that was anything else, would have some concerns here. So I know the mail slot faces that direction because it says so. But if I was traveling to this place from another star or another point in the solar system, and I wanted to line it up just right, well, let's see, that planet should be right over here. All right. So I've now locked on and selected the main planet, and that tells me he is. Nope, right there. Sorry. Couldn't find a whole planet. All right. So let's target him. Let's target the station, and we're going to request docking. For any facility like this or one of those smaller orbital outposts, guys, like this right here. There's Oliver's Lab. There's Viper's Reach. You need to be anything that you can dock at. You need to be 7.5 kilometers away or under that. So 7.49, 3 kilometers, 5.2 doesn't matter. But the threshold to get a docking access granted is 7.5. And if we look on the information tab here at the bottom, we can see that it is 2.75. I'm very close. And all right, we have him selected in the context tab. I'm going to go over and I'm going to hit to confirm request docking. Now, I'm not controlling anything at this point. Since I bought a very basic Sidewinder, it comes with an auto docking feature. So it's going to take me and glide through the mail slot, and it's going to park for me. If I have auto takeoff, or excuse me, auto launch disabled, I could do auto dock and auto land off, and just then it disabled the auto dock feature. So I'm going to do this by hand to show the protocols. I'm going to back up a little bit. We're going to pretend like we just came out of Super Cruise. We just traveled a long way, and we have something precious with us. But we have to be careful. We don't want to bump into anything. So I'm going to line up with the mail slot roughly. Doesn't have to be dead on, but it needs to be pretty close. If we look at that indicator, that little dodecahedron, that little green guy, we could tell that the mail slot is right in front of us. So what we're going to do is I'm going to control the roll. I'm not using thrusters right now, not like back and forth XY. I'm just going to control the roll and my pitch to get that just right. And I have ample time to get in there. Even right now, it's at 8 minutes. So while controlling the roll and the pitch, I am going to put, if they were not, I'm going to put all the pips into system. All right. We're not going to worry about anybody else. But I'm just going to pitch up or pitch down or to the side and adjust and go through the mail slot very, very easily, very smoothly. Just keep your thrust vector about 50. I'm at 46, 47. And if you notice something, once we requested docking and got through the mail slot, that little indicator sphere that I was talking about with the highlight, it changed. And now, since I'm in the middle of a docking process, it's trying to tell me where my landing pad is. So if let's see, it says 4. All right, so I'm gonna scoop down a little bit. Some people may not have the ability to use vertical and lateral thrusters, so we're gonna have to come at this like a roller coaster, like a helicopter. Kind of swoop in and then bring it up. No thrust. Align. All right. And then you'll have to find your keybinds for your up and your down. There we go. I was a little rough on the intake, on the downward slope of that, but it's okay. Anyway, we'll get more into the outfitting and the starport services and traveling in the next video. Because right now, we were only concerned about very core tenets of flying and understanding our HUD and understanding the flight mechanics. So that will be all for now.